to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Forgers, what is up? Welcome to Season 2, episode number 92 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our outstanding supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than candy corn. It's Kristen Ashton. Kristen, are you a fan of candy corn?
I am, although now that I'm older, I can maybe have 2 pieces and then I can taste that fake sugar, but not when I was a child. Candy corn was great, but chocolate was always the one that we fought each other over. Mom would take it, she would put it in the freezer because she loves cold chocolate, and it'd be gone in less than a week.
Chocolate candy, all the candies that are about to be acquired through trick-or-treating or the such. Even if you don't go trick-or-treating, you can go to the store right now and buy a 12-pound bag of candy and just kind of live off of it for the rest of the month.
Exactly. Or you can wait until the day after, the morning after, and all of the discount chocolate, half off, 3/4 off. I mean, they keep lowering that stuff.
I am a bit of a Halloween candy expert as well, and I feel like you can get some pretty slammin' deals. Let's talk about some awesome stuff that's going on in the world of Blizzard. And like we always say every week, it's time for the BlizzCon countdown. We have 25 days, Kristen, until the BlizzCon festivities ensue, and I'm crossing my fingers because of all of the different venue changes inside of the convention this year. And, they're moving things around. StarCraft's been removed from the main arena. They're putting Overwatch there. I'm crossing my fingers that Heroes gets its own stage, like a custom set for their stage.
Right, and even if they got the Overwatch stage from last year, I would be so happy. And in the round Heroes Arena, how cool would that be?
Oh, the Overwatch stage last year was incredible. You walked down this Overwatch tunnel inside. I mean, you have to remember that this is just a blank warehouse, basically, that they're building all of these sets in. And they built the Overwatch one where you walk down this tunnel and you come into this in the round arena where you sit around and everybody's in the middle of it. I mean, it was really, really neat. I agree. It would be so cool.
Yep, so I'm crossing my fingers for that because I know at least this BlizzCon for me is mostly going to be esports. We don't really watch it at home. We take weekends off, and that means part of Heroes has to be sacrificed, and it's been the esports. So that means BlizzCon is like 2 straight days of total esports craziness.
Yeah, and it's going to be esports craziness. The games that are going on right now are insane. I've only been able to watch highlights of these games, but the highlights are getting me hyped for BlizzCon and the energy that comes with it. I mean, it's just going to be awesome.
It is, and I'm ready. I'm hopefully going to get to make like a Sonya jersey so that it doesn't matter what team, I'm cheering for the hero Sonya.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Well, don't forget that the Amove TV meetup will be happening the day before BlizzCon at the Anaheim Hilton. More details on that once they become available. We want to meet all of you guys. If you're coming to BlizzCon, get there maybe like a little day early and show up at this Amove meetup. It's always fun. Last year we did some flash forging at the meetup where we were talking about Prophet Velen a year ago, kind of imagining what he would be like if he was brought into the Nexus. And it was really fun having a couple beers with friends and just talking about Heroes of the Storm. So, I mean, Kristen, it's one of the highlights of the convention for me.
It certainly is. And I would honestly say it's probably the best part of the convention just because it's everyone getting together. There are no airs on because it's a very casual meetup. And there's no like performance involved, as it were. Whereas with BlizzCon, when you're going to meet developers and stuff like that, you have to keep a professional air. This one, you get drunk and you have fun.
And it is a ton of fun. So more details once they become available for you guys. We would love to meet you. Also, our project that we announced last week that we're continuing to work on week after week throughout October are these Divinity 2 Original Sin streams that we've been doing on Kyle Ferguson's channel. You can find those Sundays at 2 o'clock Pacific on twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. And there have been some shenanigans going on inside the world of Divinity as well.
So many shenanigans, but the best part, I think the happiest part of this past Sunday involved a dog named Buddy. Now, if you remember in the first episode, I provoked a dog and we killed it. It was going to die anyway, but we have made amends with the animal folk.
That's right. We gave Buddy a ball and he was really happy, and we even have a quest to find his long-lost love on this island that we're trying to escape from, but we're not going to escape until we find his long-lost love.
Yeah, there's no rest until we find Emmy.
Emmy, that's her name, Emmy. It's very fun. Check it out. Sundays at 2 o'clock Pacific, twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. Also, check out Kyle Ferguson's streams about Heroes. All the stuff that he's doing with Heroes of the Storm is awesome content, and it's on the same channel. So while you're over there, check it all out. We're continuing on with our monthly special of episodes here called A Hero's Halloween, where we're taking characters that aren't necessarily from any of these Blizzard universes like we normally do and talk about on the show, but Kristen, we're mixing it up a little bit.
We are. We absolutely are. Everything's a little different because we're not going with a specific type of horror. We're jumping generations. We're jumping types. Last week it was Dracula. This week, Jeff claimed Jaws. And next week it's back to me, and I've chosen something that has haunted me. Probably the scariest movie I ever watched growing up was The Ring, and we're taking on Samara.
Samara from The Ring. I have to agree. I think for me, for some reason, maybe it's because I love the ocean and I love all of that, Jaws is up there for me on one of the scariest films of all time, but I do remember seeing The Ring and that opening scene with the corpse in the closet. I mean, I think that still gets me, and I know it's coming.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that, and I think the best part was that nobody told me what to expect going into that movie. Nobody said anything. There was so much respect for the surprise of what this story was about that it just flabbergasted me. And ever since that movie, I've never been able to watch horror movies without having my hands in front of my face just in case.
But we all love it, right? We keep going. We keep paying our, $12 to go see a movie, and we want to be scared. We want to have that interaction. So it's all good, and it's well worth it. Well, this week we're here to talk about Jaws, and how in the heck are we going to bring a shark into the Nexus? Well, let's find out, and let's forge.
Let's forge.
So before we get started with this, Kristen, I know that everybody has a story when it comes to something that as iconic as Jaws, right? I mean, I have a couple of stories myself. I know when I was growing up, my mom told me that she went to go see this film in the theaters, and ever since then, after she saw the movie, she wouldn't swim over the drain in the pool in the backyard of their house. She wouldn't do it because she was afraid that this great white massive shark was going to come up and, end her pool fun.
End her pool fun, end her life. It's so great because it's, even though Jaws itself is tangible, it's just a great white shark. It's not even a ghost great white shark. It's just a shark. It really kind of encompasses that unknown depths fear, which is legitimate, right? Because as you go deeper into the ocean, you can't see anything.
Yeah, and I think it's the fear of the unknown that really gets people, and it gets me. I mean, as much as I love being out in the ocean, it's that fear of you don't know what's around you, underneath you, what could be stalking you, all of that stuff. So it does have a horror feel to it. Maybe not the most conventional like Samara or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it still is. And you were giving me some facts before the show started on the film Jaws and how it does qualify as a horror film.
Yes, it does, because it addresses, and this is kind of a theory that I like to believe encompasses horror in general, just because there are so many types. It's the idea that the main character is neutered. Just the power is completely stripped. Brody, the police chief, can't do anything because the mayor keeps the beaches open, so people keep dying. Bad things keep happening. He can't do anything by himself. He has to get 2 other people. And even then, he almost dies. So it's that whole idea of having any kind of power stripped away. And then how do you face not being able to do anything?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I love the film. Why don't you give us a little synopsis of what's going on in this movie?
So, can do. Based on Peter Benchley's 1974 novel, Jaws follows the horrors of a great white that terrorized beachgoers on Amity Island. To take it down, Police Chief Martin Brody, marine biologist Matt Hooper, and shark hunter Quint join forces to put a stop to the beast below once and for all.
And they do, but it comes at a cost, doesn't it?
It does. Again, people are going to die. That's how you establish the threat, something that can take life. And that alone is pretty scary.
Totally. And how do we, because what we're here to talk about is Heroes of the Storm. So how do we tie this in this fictional, universe that we're living in, that we're just theory crafting from the ground up with a blank canvas here? If the Shark had a favorite Blizzard game, Kristen, what would that game be, do you think?
I think it would be Heroes because you have a kill count. I totally think Jaws has like a little underwater chalkboard where he marks the number of people he's attacked and killed.
Absolutely. Do you think he comes home after a hard day of work and he's with his other shark family and they're like, hey, because sharks don't sleep, right? Or they do sleep. There's one of the things where they sleep, but they can't stop moving.
Well, yes, they can't stop moving because of the filtration with the gills. So, but he's got a family, right? He's coming home after a long day of killing people. Yeah, he could probably sleep in this imagining, and he's got his kill board.
Yeah, and Mania in the chat has a good point too. Like, if it was World of Warcraft, there would be whole 40-man raid teams that he could definitely have a few snacks.
There we go. And then the numbers just shooting up through the roof. I mean, his family is so proud of his achievements because it didn't stop with Jaws, right? There was 2, and then there was Jaws 3D, which nobody really talks about. You just kind of sweep that one away. So I like to imagine he dies but keeps coming back.
Love it. I love it. And what would his favorite Blizzard character be?
Oh, this one was challenging because Blizzard Warcraft did come up with that flying shark with laser beams attached to its frickin' head. But I didn't think that would be who Jaws looked up to. No, I think it would be Old Gummers, who lives in a lake, and he's missing quite a few teeth. But he is an elite, and he's killed more than his fair share of passersby.
I don't know, Old Gummers. Is it a shark?
It's just a shark, and when he comes up out of the water, he's missing almost all of his teeth, but he's clearly hit a good old age, and he can still fight.
Love it. Like the student has become the teacher kind of thing. Maybe Old Gummers was the mastermind behind the Amity attacks.
Maybe it was. Maybe, yeah, and I like that idea that Old Gummers was the mentor that Jaws forever strives to be.
Yeah, I love it. So let's get into here. If we were going to put Jaws as a playable hero inside of Heroes of the Storm, what would that be like? That crazy thought. And the first thing we always start about is role classification. So if we brought this character in, what role would it be? So I'm going to go first this week, and I'm going to say that the role that I'm giving Jaws is tank.
Fish tank?
But show's over. It doesn't get any better than that.
I love it. No, but tank, right? It's a big great white. He's huge. He's probably the biggest one on fictional record or something similar to that. So it would make sense. And he does tank a lot of damage in that movie.
That's right. And that's where really I started with Assassin and I started going and I thought, you know what? This is going to be tank and it's going to be very difficult to play and it may not feel tanky. Maybe it's more burst or more bruiser-y. So we'll find out. I'll get your opinion on this. So I'm going to give this shark a name. So the name of the shark is Bruce, and only because I did some research on the actual shark inside of the film Jaws, and it's commonly thought that the shark's name is Bruce, or when the shark wasn't working, because this animatronic shark that they built gave the crew of the film and the director and everything a bunch of hell, basically. I mean, it was not ever working the way that they wanted it to be, which is part of the reason why a lot of people think that the film is actually so good, because they had to work around this animatronic shark that wasn't working perfectly, so the shots became different and everything happened in a better way, and it worked out for them. But I'm going with Bruce.
I like it. A good hats off to something that people may or may not know about the movie.
Yeah, and Bruce is the shark's name from Finding Nemo as well, so it kind of all ties in. Let's get on with the trait here. So the trait that I'm going with is called Farewell and Adieu. So the fantasy with this Jaws kit is that he'll be a tank that'll pop out of nowhere and deal high burst damage while body blocking with his huge silhouette. You never really know the location of the shark, and just when you least expect it, he pops out and strikes. This trait, Farewell and Adieu, allows the shark to be under the magical battlefield of the Nexus, stealthed. Unlike another stealth character in the game, the shark cannot be revealed by the enemy attacking him, but when he uses one of his abilities on the battlefield or auto attacks, he will be forced to be stationary until he uses this trait again to go stealth and move under the ground. He can only move when stealth, so he pops out of the Nexus. You imagine, I'm imagining that the ground becomes all of those purple hexagons, you know, he's popping through this magical ground and he's in water and like he's able to munch and chomp at things that are around him, but he can't move unless he goes back on his trait under the ground.
Oh, I like that. And now with the trait, how long would it channel to pop back into stealth mode?
I think it doesn't really take a lot of time, maybe half a second to a second. He kind of just pulls himself back underwater. And the reason I say that he can't be revealed by the enemy with attacks is, you know, if you see Nova, you can hit her and she is revealed and you can see where she's at. But the give and take with this is that you can't reveal them with attacks, but he has to be stationary when he pops out. Now, I still imagine that it would be really creepy to see like the silhouette of the shark under the ground if they were revealed by some sort of hero reveal, like a Brightwing Pulse or something that comes out, or Tassadar even with the vision. You would see the shark kind of lurking under the ground.
I like that idea very, very much, because then it's one of those, if you're paying attention for it and there's a reveal, you can see it no problem. But are you paying attention? Now, when he goes back into stealth, if he has a dot on him, would that pull him out of stealth?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. I think he'll just take the damage as he's underwater like he does in the film, you know, just taking the harpoons and going underwater and obviously still hurting, but not, you know, not continuously able to be targeted.
Totally, totally. Oh, that's so great. Okay, so when he comes out of the ground, does the stuff burst away from him? Is it like a jump up out of the water kind of a thing? It's
kind of as if he took his big shark nose and smashed it through like ice. You know, have you ever seen those films that have the submarines that come up through the ice and they kind of come crashing through and then they're stuck there because of the ice? That's the kind of vision I see.
I like that. That's great, too. They're stuck there because of the ice. He's stuck in position because the ground sticks him there, and then he would fall back into the water. Oh, that's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I just really wanted to get that feeling. So with this, you're going to have to do body blocking in order to be that tank. You're going to have a huge Jaws health pool, basically. And for the mounting ability, I would say there wouldn't be a specific mount that he would ride. Obviously, he's a shark. But he would have this like movement speed increase, and it would look like swimming with the current, like swimming faster with the current so he can move at a faster pace.
I like that. And that too could be a lot of fun, because what if there was a talent that kind of messed around with this whole current idea?
Oh, that'd be cool. Like, what if underneath the battleground there were currents that were ever changing, and depending on where you're going, like a conveyor belt on Volskaya, it would move you faster in a certain direction?
Definitely. Just like that.
Maybe that would be a trait too. That could be a whole trait in itself. And then you would have him, like Chad is saying, you could have the fin showing on the battlefield as it's just moving around. And then you would be able to reveal him through that. So you could go two ways with that trait. It'd be really cool.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, the fin is so iconic. You have to imagine that would be in there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So this first basic ability is called Thrash. So Bruce breaks out of the ground of the Nexus and grabs the closest target in his jaws. The attack deals the initial damage to the target from the bite, but that's not all. Bruce also proceeds to thrash them side to side 2 times, dealing additional damage for each thrash. Bruce can be stunned out of the thrashing if an enemy player stuns him while it's going on. So the thought process here is pop up, grab somebody that's unexpecting, smash them against the ground 2 times, but if Uther is there and drops a hammer of justice on you, you're going to get stunned and drop them from your mouth.
That's really, really cool. I love the idea of forcing people to use stuns to break something, to kind of make stuns. Sure, stuns aren't always that prominent, and sometimes I feel like they're too much, but I love this idea of being forced to react with a very specific thing in order to break it, so that there's like a puzzle. And then, of course, in drafting, if somebody takes draws, you would need to make sure you have a stun, because this invisible dude grabbing your guys in the back line, you better hope you have somebody there to stop it.
Totally. And that kind of works in the fact of, in my head at least, where you are kind of peeling for your team because you're grabbing somebody that they need to react to, so they're coming to you rather than proceeding to attack other players that are on your enemy team. So you're kind of peeling in that respect. I know it's weird and different, but it might work.
No, and that's a great point. You force them to fight you. That's awesome. Oh, that's like Johanna in her glory days. She was so good at that. Now with this, when you're grabbed by the shark, can you still use your abilities? So if an Uther was grabbed, could he stun you mid thrash?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and say yeah. You can use your own abilities to try to fight off this shark. He's gonna grab you by the legs, right? And just like in the film, you're doing everything you can to try to get away. So yeah, let's say you can, and maybe you can talent into it where it stuns them when you grab them so they can't attack you, and that would be a really cool situational talent choice to be able to do that in the game. And you wouldn't do it if you didn't need to. Like, you wouldn't take that talent if the people you were fighting didn't draft the stuns.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I love that adaptability idea too.
Cool. So this next basic ability is called Barrel, and we all know there are lots of barrels in the film Jaws. So with this, a harpoon is going to shoot out of the opening of the Nexus that Bruce is attacking from in the form of a skill shot. If this skill shot hits an enemy hero, they are tethered to a barrel that slows their movement for a short amount of time. That it has 3 skill shot charges, and if you hit the same hero by all 3 skill shot charges, then it stops them from moving entirely because it's too heavy, the load that they're carrying. So imagine this. You can only use this when Jaws is out of the water. So he comes bursting out. Maybe he grabs onto an enemy hero, thrashes them 2 times, and they start running away. Well, he can't chase them down, right? So he's going to shoot this harpoon's just going to come out of the water and attach. And if it attaches, the rope is going to pull out one of those yellow barrels.
I love this idea. Okay, so does Bruce actually have a harpoon that he lifts up with his little fins to shoot?
Anything is possible, Kristen, if you just believe, okay? So I'm believing that he does not do that, that there is just a harpoon gun that is locked and loaded underneath the water that's just ready to fire, and then maybe an accidental fish swims by it and it shoots a harpoon out at the prime time.
Exactly. And, it just happens to be line of... I love this idea, just so you know. I'm not trying to belittle this. The whole idea of somebody getting stopped entirely by the barrels is such a great hats off to the movie. And it's especially great too because it speaks to just how powerful Bruce is or was, right? He had barrels and that didn't stop him. He just dove and kept on killing.
That's right. So I wanted to do something about that. I could imagine that maybe one of like, so what's the name of the Quint? Let's imagine that it is, okay, I got it. It is a zombie Quint that's been eaten by a shark that follows around underneath Bruce as he's swimming, and it's Quint who has taken the side of Bruce that decides to help him feed, and he's the one with the harpoon gun.
Nice. So a little skeletal Quint pops up and shoots it out. Perfect. Would your allies be able to cut the ropes and help free you?
Yeah, let's say yeah, because that's a cool thing, right? That'll also add to the little bit of peel that we're trying to build in here. I don't even know if that's the right term with this sort of thing, but that'll add to the kind of crowd control that you're trying to do while you're doing this, where they're also, not only have you been thrashed, so they try to get there to unstun you, but also they're trying to cut these ropes so that you can go faster.
Definitely, definitely.
Cool, so that's Barrel. The next one is called Don't Go in the Water. So if this ability has a very short range, and it will grab an enemy hero that is in range of it and pull them underwater. So basically Jaws is grabbing you with his jaws and pulling you with him underwater. So when you're pulled into the hole of the Nexus, the one that Bruce is occupying, they will not be able to be targeted by anything. So they're basically, unstoppable, immune to everything because they're underwater, but they'll need to swim a small distance to a predetermined hole in the ground that they can exit the water from, taking them out of the battle until they do so. So imagine if the Nexus ground was a big piece of ice and you fell through a hole in the ice and you were trying to find the hole to get back to the battle. That's basically what this is.
Oh my goodness. Would Bruce be able to attack you while you're in this?
I would say no. Maybe a 20. That'd be really cool if you're like trying to swim out and he's like coming up right behind you.
I love that idea. So you take initial damage when getting pulled in, but after that, you just got to get back to the hole.
Yeah, very little damage, and the Jaws player can choose where the second hole is, and it doesn't go as far as a Medivh portal. Like it's not that far. You have ample time to get out, but it can disrupt the battlefield.
Totally. And if it even is short range, you could set up the hole closer to your side. That means they have to crawl out in enemy territory. And I guess in that case, how do you make it so that there is a need to get out of the hole as quickly as possible, right? So how do you force their hand?
Let's add a breath meter. So when you go under, you have a World of Warcraft breath meter, and you can only stay under for a certain amount of time. After the meter goes out, you slowly take ticking damage.
I like that a lot. And then eventually you'll die if you don't get out in time.
Yeah, maybe this is more on a heroic side, but this idea I thought was just very frustrating if you're playing on the enemy team. Imagine it's like an Anubarak web wrap, but you have to do something to get out of it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And even with the Nubarak, right? The timer is so long that you might as well have your friends get you out of there, or they just leave you to die.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of heroics, let's talk about a couple. So this first one I have is called Smile, You Son of a... So when this heroic is selected, the Bruce player can select 3 places on the battlefield to place explodable oxygen tanks. These tanks can be exploded, dealing AoE damage to all enemies in the area. They are able to be hidden in vents or bushes in key areas on the battlefield to help set up ambushes. Once struck by a friendly player, they will explode, and after a short cooldown, the Bruce player can then select another place on the battlefield to put a new tank.
I like that idea that the friendly players decide when to blow it up. Now, is this damage, is it just an initial burst and that's all the damage they're going to take, or will there be dots applied?
I think just to start, it's an initial burst, so it helps you kind of Or maybe it's an explosion that pushes people out from it and deals little damage. That way you feel a little tankier because you're able to control where people are in the battlefield a little better, placing these around tributes or capture points, or imagine putting one on a conveyor belt on Volskaya or something like that. Just this oxygen tank just going around and around and around.
Now, with the oxygen tank, you as Jaws can't hit it, correct? It is entirely up to your teammates?
Correct. Yeah, you can't do anything about it. It's just up to them.
You dirty rats, you tank for yourself. I'm out.
That's right, but imagine if they had that tool to where they're on this point, the tank is there, the enemy team can see it, unless it's in a bush or event, and they come in, if they start losing the battle or whatever, they can use that tool to push everybody out, maybe like a Brightwing Emerald Wind distance, like out, with an explosion.
That's pretty nice. And then if you get 3 stacks of that distance, because that is a distance that can win games.
Yeah, it's great. Or steal bosses. You could put a tank right on top of a boss. Something cool, something different. The second heroic is different too. It's called Show Me the Way to Go Home. So Bruce strikes fear in the closest target to him, causing them to go into a sailor's tune that acts like their hearthstone, sending them back to their Hall of Storms. This can be talented into later in the game to also put the player's hearthstone on a cooldown for a short amount of time after this ability is used on them.
Oh, this is cool. So a force hearth.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, I like that. And I guess we technically couldn't. I mean, it's a fear, definitely, but I like it because they're not so scared. They don't have their wits about them. They're still together enough to know to summon themselves back to the Hall of Storms.
Yeah, so and it's instant too. It's not like channeling to get your Hearthstone. You can't be targeted out of it. Or maybe you could, and that would also require your team to, do something to you in order to stop you from hearthing. That would be a really cool idea too.
That's pretty nice. Now, as Jaws, would you see like a little icon over the closest, like a Garrosh toss target, so you know who you'd be sending back?
Yeah, I think so. And you'd wait for that opportune moment to just pop out next to their healer. Stukov is standing right there. You force him to hearth back. Then they're down 4v5, and you gotta fight.
Right, and you're already up too. So Stukov's back. You grab the Li Ming. She's lost over half her health at this point, and yeah, just push him back. So maybe he'd be great with a second tank.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody that could even, like a Garrosh, right? A pull, a toss, and when you get tossed, right when you're there, Bruce the shark pops up from the ground and grabs you. I mean, you taking tower shots, doing all that stuff. It'd be crazy.
It'd be beautiful. And then maybe throwing a Tassadar wall, and you create this whole fortress around the enemy team, and they regret ever having played the game.
That's right. That is the definition of fish tank, which is what I built here with this kit. It basically, just summarizing it up, it is this body blocking huge shark that comes up from the ground and forces the enemy team to react to what's happening to their friendly teammates or pay the price.
And that's probably the perfect way to sum up the movie. I mean, this is such a great Jaws build because it sums up the movie. You're forced to go out there and save your friends, because if you don't, too bad, so sad.
There's going to be a whole lot of bloody inflatable tubes that come up on the ocean with, people that just were hanging out in the ocean for too long around this shark. All right, before we get to Kristen's kit, we have some people we need to thank as always. First and foremost, we need to thank all of the patrons that help support this show week after week. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that on patreon.com/HeroesForge, where we have a couple of goals that we're working towards over there, and you can join the patron crew with us. Thank you again, patrons. Also, thank you to everyone that's given the show a 5-star rating on iTunes. That also helps the show grow immensely. If you haven't yet and you listen to the show on iTunes and you like it, drop us a 5-star review with a little note and we'll give you a shout out right here on the show, thanking you for your support. All right, Kristen, it's time. What role classification are you going with here?
I went with Assassin. I love the idea of him taking people out.
Yeah, and the fact that, I mean, you brought up the kill counter idea. That is totally Jaws, is the kill counter. And who counts kills better than assassins, right?
Exactly. They love it. They got little notches on their helmets, on their arms, wherever, just so you know that they're bad mofos.
Totally. All right, so you're going with assassin, and what is your trait?
The trait I'm calling under the scene. Because Jaws is a shark, he travels underwater, or in the case of the Nexus, under the maps. This means he ignores all terrain by diving down and surfacing his fin once passed.
Great. I mean, great minds. This is how you would have to do it, right? I mean, you're not going to put them in a fish tank that's a cart that you pull them around the battlefield. I mean, so these ideas are great, but one thing that you brought up that's really cool is that he ignores terrain, right? So are you saying he's able to swim under impassable things?
Exactly. He can swim around everywhere. The only impassable terrain are the edges that denote the outline of the map.
Oh, that's so cool. And in that respect, he becomes closer to a global hero because you can get places so much faster.
That's true. Taking that straight line, kind of like a Falstad fly, right? Except you don't need a wind up and then you go. You're simply going.
So you're seeing this fin up above the battleground like we talked about before, so you can see that fin that he's going around, and if you get attacked with that fin out, does it reveal you? Like, are you able to be attacked?
That's such a good question. I think if you're attacked, because your fin is always up and out unless you're going under terrain. That's the only time it disappears. So people can see your fin all the time. I would imagine you would take half damage because you're concealed. People can see you, but what are they hitting?
Okay, very cool. So this also, with what you just said, opens up the fact that you added a whole bunch more bushes and vents, so to speak, to the map if you can hide under mountains or whatever's on there.
Yeah, that's very true. Dragonshire, you're hiding under the Dragon Shrine, right? And if somebody tries to grab it, you pop out and get them.
Oh, yeah. Totally Jaws, totally shark. All right, so what about mounting?
All right, I did give it a mount, and I went with the air barrels. And I love the idea that in order to swim faster, he would put the barrels on himself to make it even more clear where he is and where he's going, so he could go. But he puts it on because he's training. He's got to go faster so that when he takes them off and it's time to fight, he's taking off the lead jacket. He's taking off the air barrels.
That's right, taking the donut off the baseball bat. He's been swinging that 15-pound baseball bat, and now he's ready to go in there and just wreck.
Mess it up. There are going to be body parts everywhere.
I love it. That's a really cool visual. How about basic abilities?
All right, the first one is called Dun Dun. Upon nearing a group of enemies, Jaws emits a fear aura in the form of a cone in front of him. This aura disorients and slows anyone trapped in it. The aura does come with its own soundtrack, so you hear it as it comes in.
That is the one thing I didn't talk about in my kit at all, was probably the most iconic thing about Jaws, which is the soundtrack. And this is incredible. So you're emitting a fear aura. Does that mean when you use this, there is an allotted amount of time that this aura is protruding from you? And are you able to swim around with it for a while? Or is it like an ability that you activate and it just happens and then it's not happening anymore?
Let's do it that it's an ability you activate, but it drains your mana. So you could leave it on, or you could turn it on and turn it off.
Okay, cool. I love stuff like that. I mean, it really forces you. Now, can you use your other abilities while you're using this? Like while it's channeling and your mana is happening?
Yes. And also, I would like to imagine that this ability would last for a second after you turn off the ability, so that if you need to do something but you don't want your mana to continue draining, you can do that.
Oh, very cool. Okay, well, what combos with this? What's your second basic?
All right, the second one is called Deep Dive. Jaws drops below the surface of the map, disappearing entirely. While down here, his aura becomes 2 to 3 times stronger as enemies begin to get really scared.
Okay, so he's basically diving under to a safe place. Is his health regenerating while he's down there, like a normal health regen?
Let's go with that being a talent you could take. Maybe a level 1 or a level 4 is a percent regen that gets better as you get higher in level.
So this is cool. This is just a protective ability then. It doesn't hurt anybody on the other team.
Sort of. If you keep the aura on the people, because you can still have that fear aura going, the dun, right? Keep it turned on. If you die while it's turned on, the slow and the disorient are 2-3 times stronger. So maybe the enemies are walking at a crawl, and even though they're trying to go in a straight line, occasionally they're turning to the left or the right.
Oh, I see. So this really is the combo. You get them locked in that fear aura, and then you dive under. They really can't see where you are, so they start freaking out even more.
Exactly. The whole idea that you hear the music, you see the fin, you know he's coming, but then he goes under. Oh my gosh.
I love it. It's so great. I get it now. Very cool. And if you take that talent at 1, it could really help you. And I'm sure that the third basic is going to wrap it all up.
Oh, you could sink your teeth into it, one might say. It's called the bite. Swimming straight up, Jaws grabs an enemy in his gaping mouth and then sinks below the map, dealing half of the unit's or hero's total health to them. This is an extremely short-range skill shot.
Wow, awesome. So you swim, you grab them, you pull them under. What happens after that? You let them go and they come back to the top? Or how do they come back to the surface?
Oh man, these visuals, right? The visuals would be the coolest part about bringing Jaws to the Nexus. I like to imagine maybe they're swimming and they grab onto the edge and they pull themselves up. And do a very stand-up kind of thing. That's
so great. And then if Jaws pops up behind them and like auto-attacks them from behind, talk about visuals, that'd be awesome.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. And just the whole idea that you have a character that scares people so bad they make mistakes, and then that character can take advantage of it.
It's great. It's really great. And the combo here, I mean, with your first ability, disorienting, then you're doing your deep dive to make them even more disoriented, but then you hit the bite and you come flying up and grab them. It's awesome.
So good. And maybe if you do a certain amount of damage, you get a little visual thumbs up from the team, right? We can't do limbs anymore. It is PG-13, but maybe they've got a shark bite in them for the rest of the game.
Hey, it's in the surfboard already, so why not?
There we go.
All right, first heroic.
All right, the first one is called Smile. In a twist of events, Jaws begins tossing air canisters into the air. If it lands on a hero, that hero is now carrying an air canister. Brody climbs on the back of Jaws and begins shooting. If a bullet hits a canister, it explodes, dealing a lot of damage.
This is so cool. Okay, questions a many. So Jaws is controlling where these air canisters are going, or is this a Hearthstone Mad Bomber kind of thing where the air canisters are just flying and it's the friendly team's job to get in the landing zone of an air canister as it's flying and they catch it and then put it on?
Oh goodness. Let's say Jaws controls where the air canisters fall, because you want to try and hit the enemy team, the enemy heroes, because then they're forced to carry an air canister.
Oh, I get it. So you're not making your own friendlies moving targets. You're hitting the enemy and then they are forced to carry the air canister. And then Brody, who's, taking the side of Jaws on here, climbs up on Jaws' back, obviously prone with his, rifle sitting there and trying to snipe these canisters.
Exactly. And I would imagine this would be a skill shot you would get to take over. So maybe you surface and you get some shots, and then you have to sink, swim up, surface again, and try to hit the canisters.
It's so great. Yeah, maybe it is like an Eye of Horus kind of thing where, Brody has just got this, awesome rifle that he can just blow these guys up. I mean, that's great. Do the canisters blow each other up? So is there a chain reaction if multiple heroes have canisters?
There would have to be. Maybe that would be a level 20 based on how much damage these canisters ultimately do, but why not? Why not have a chain reaction?
Boom, boom, boom would be so cool. What's your second heroic? How are you going to beat that?
Oh, this one is called Amity Attack. To commemorate the Skinny Dipper at the beginning of the movie, Jaws sets his sight on the least dressed enemy hero. With the fin under the map, this hero is suddenly pulled under, never to be seen again.
Okay.
Except when he rises.
Yeah. So, this is great. This adds a whole new equation to drafting and to skin choices in the game. So you're saying whoever is the least dressed gets pulled under. Are you saying that is an auto kill for them, or they get auto kill?
Auto kill, absolutely an auto kill. You can't have the Skinny Dipper not die because then you don't set the stakes. Like a level 10, you can't have Dreadlord Jaina not die because then no one takes you seriously as a shark.
That's right. So if everyone on the enemy team, so I guess every single hero skin would be given a coverage rating.
That's true. So maybe a percentage coverage rating, right? And that percentage ultimately determines. And if two heroes have the same rating, it's a 50-50 chance as to who gets pulled.
So does the Jaws tune travel to that person like Illidan the Hunt, just like goes over there and pulls them under, or is it like his shark family that happens to show up underneath that person and they get pulled under by his, or maybe by the zombies of all of his eaten foes?
Oh, that's so cool. I wish Jaws was a necromancer. No, I just imagined it's just Jaws. He's just coming in, and I love that idea of the music getting louder. And then as it swells, there goes the hero.
It's great. It's really great. What an awesome kit for an assassin. This would feel really assassin-y for sure. What do you say to sum it all up?
Taking the bait.
Taking the bait. Don't go in the water. Take the bait. Shark Tank. Whole bunch of funny stuff going on here. What great kits that we have here just off of this crazy idea of having Jaws in the Nexus, but we cannot call these kits completed or Halloween forged until we talk about the best parts, specialty skins and dance moves. So Kristen, what is your specialty skin?
Okay, so we've got two for this one. Left Shark, because who can forget Left Shark? That would basically just be the silly cartoon version. And then, of course, a street shark. He would wear pants, he would have abs, and he would be built to bust up some bad guys because he's totally jawsome.
Jawsome. So this is like a shark like West Side Story shark?
Oh, have you never seen Street Sharks? Okay, so the premise is these four boys, sons of a scientist, are captured by the scientist's arch enemy, and he injects them with the genes of sharks, and so they turn into these half shark, half human hybrids, but they're wearing like cargo pants and boots, and they've got abs and hands, but one of them's a great white, one of them's a hammerhead, and they can dive into the asphalt and swim around like sharks would in the ocean.
Okay, it's perfect. It really is perfect. But I need to rewind a second here and say, you were surprised that I hadn't seen that? After as you're describing it, are you thinking, yeah, there's probably a reason he hasn't watched this?
You'll have to forgive me. It's a cartoon from my childhood, so I just assume everybody has seen all of the cartoons that I've seen. So that's why.
It's great. I'm gonna watch it after this for sure. I'm gonna find a Street Shark episode and I'm gonna watch it, and I'll tweet out a GIF of Street Sharks on our Twitter. And we can all look at it in case you don't know what that is. So my specialty skins over here is I'm going with I got two as well. The first one is sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads because why not, right? I mean that works perfect.
Well, that's everybody's dream, right? And that's all you ask for. Frickin' sharks, frickin' laser beams.
That's right. Now the second one I'm calling the Shark Tank Businessman. He'd be a large and on the prowl for the next best enemy hero to become his next acquisition.
Ooh, sinister. I like it. So what are you thinking the design for this?
I wanted this to actually be a humanoid, like a human, in like a full-on three-piece business suit that is basically Shark Tank, like the show.
Yes, okay. Would he have a fin? Like, is he swimming under the pavement?
He's swimming like Scrooge McDuck status in big piles of money underneath the Nexus and looking for that next, what I'm calling, acquisition.
I love it. And maybe he wipes his mouth with dollar bills after he gets one.
Absolutely. And maybe it is like maybe an invention that some entrepreneur came up with that allows him to grab the enemies and deals damage to them. I don't know. We'll just imagine that it works out. So let's get on to dance moves here. I said that he would have this like dolphin tail dance, make him like as little intimidating as possible. Like when dolphins come all the way up out of the water except for their tail and they're moving backwards. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, that'd be so cute. And maybe he's off to his side doing a little shimmy. Aww.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking we'd just give him the left shark dance. He'd pop out of the water and then he'd just start flipping his fins as best as he could.
And he doesn't know what he's doing and no one else cares.
Exactly. He's just dancing to his own tune. And he does have his own tune.
Yeah, and he will live on in infamy because of that.
He will, and everyone knows it, everyone loves it, and everyone fears it.
That's right. After that, we can definitely say that this hero has been forged.
HeroesForge.
We did it, Kristen. We brought a shark to the Nexus. I think that would be one of... that's a great challenge to anybody out there listening. How else could you bring a shark into the Nexus? Let us know your thoughts, because this was a big challenge.
It was, because Jaws, especially since a lot of his stuff is underwater. It's not like a floating shark that you can attach weapons to, or a street shark that you give legs and they run around like anything normal. This is completely different.
Yeah, and it would be very cool. And we know that there are some sharks, we've even gotten some ideas for kits that people would like to see from Hearthstone with some shark-inspired cards, if you know what I'm saying, which we'll definitely touch on. But this type of idea, I think, could play into any kind of stealth hero. Imagine a Nubarak, right? That's built in right now. A Nubarak can burrow and charge forward with that same sort of thing. What if there was a hero that had that burrow ability more often or constantly?
And that's a great point right there, because the burrow ability can really, really work to a tank's advantage. And I love the idea that you have of the burrow is constantly on. And so to kind of limit that mobility, that sheer mobility that Jaws would have, when you come out of it, you're stuck where you are. So as a tank, you better make sure you're in a good position. And that when you come up, it will be long enough for you to cool down your burrow ability again, but not so long that the enemy team can immediately reposition and you're stuck like a fish out of water.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to master something like that. And that's why I like your kit with the assassin idea, and I love the being pulled under. That's one of the fears, right? You're going... Not only do you not know what's happening around you, you can't breathe, and you're being pulled underwater to a place that you can't see or move or have any control at all. So that feels really assassin-y too.
Yeah, totally. And of course, people tell you to punch its eyes, but you don't even know how to hit its eyes. In that case, it's shaking you so hard. You'll be lucky if you get out with everything still intact.
That's right. And if you're out there thinking, it's been a long time since I've seen the film Jaws, watch it. I think it really holds up.
It does. It is a great horror movie. Definitely a definitive one of the genre. Now, I think it's 70s, right, when it came out, so the style is a little weird, the sound is a bit fuzzy, but as a movie, it is a great, great part of the cinema universe.
Yes, it's very fun, and this was very fun forging Jaws on this episode for our Heroes Halloween Forges this month. And don't forget, next week, Samara, Kristen.
I got to rewatch the movie, and I watched that movie a lot when I was younger, but now I'll have to rewatch it.
It's going to be good. I'm going to rewatch it too this week, and then we'll have some ideas moving forward. If you have ideas on Jaws that you want to let us know, or if you even have ideas for Samara next week, send us a tweet or an email. You can follow us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. That's where we make all the show announcements. Make sure you're following us over there so you can know if there are any schedule changes or cool giveaways that we're doing. Again, that's at Forge Heroes on Twitter, or you can send us an email. Contact HeroesForge@gmail.com is that place. And if you have an idea for a character you'd like to see in the Nexus, you can send us an idea as well. Normally, week after week, we talk about characters that live in these Blizzard universes. So if you have a favorite character in World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Hearthstone, any of these Blizzard games, send us an idea and we'll forge it on the show once we get through all of these awesome Heroes Halloween episodes this month. Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs when you're not here?
In the interwebs, you can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
And are we still plowing forward on your streams every week?
Yep, still going forward. Batman Arkham Origins was great. We ran into the Joker, voiced by Troy Baker in this one, and he did a great job adapting, but still paying homage to the Mark Hamill Joker that we all love.
Cool. Very cool. Check out that stream. It is a ton of fun to watch. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific because we are, and we record it on twitch.tv/Amove TV because we are part of the Amove TV video game and podcast network. For more great esports and video game podcasts, make sure you head on over to amove.tv. Some really awesome content over there. Also, check out our website, heroesforge.club, where we have the other 91 episodes coming up on 2 years of doing this show solid. 91 episodes over there that you can check out and catch up if you're just getting started with Heroes Forge. Thank you again to all of our patrons for helping support the show, and to everyone that's given us a 5-star review on iTunes. We couldn't do it without you. Also, a huge thank you to everyone that hangs out in the chat week after week. As always, you are all rock stars. Kristen, any last thoughts on Jaws and bringing him to the Nexus?
I think he's amazing. I think he's a very creative hero. And I think your build did so much justice to encapsulating the movie in a kit form.
I have to watch this movie again as well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to watch this month. Get your horror movies in out there because there's a lot of stuff going on. And we will see you next week for Samara from the Ring. Happy Halloween month, everybody, and we'll catch you all in the real world.